Okay, so if you've ever, even once, checked your horoscope, you might want to sit down for this. We're about to dive into this huge cosmic puzzle that suggests the zodiac sign you've identified with your entire life. Well, it might not be the whole story. Not even close.
All right, let's make this personal. You've always thought of yourself as a Scorpio, right? You know the traits, maybe you even have the coffee mug. But what if I told you that there's another, much older system of astrology that says, nope, you're actually a Libra? And look, this isn't just a minor disagreement. We're talking about a cosmic debate that's been going on for 2,000 years.
So, let's get right into it. Part 1. Your sign might be wrong. And it all comes down to the fact that there isn't just one zodiac system. There are two major ones.
That's right. Most of us are walking around with two different zodiac signs. The one you read about in newspapers and magazines, that comes from Western, or what's called tropical astrology. But there's this more ancient system, Vedic astrology, that uses the sidereal zodiac, and because they're calculated in completely different ways, you almost always get a different result.
So, what on earth causes this difference? Well, it's a cosmic clash, really. It's a battle of seasons versus the stars. You see, the two zodiacs are anchored to completely different reference points in the sky. So here's the absolute core of it. The tropical zodiac, the one most of us in the West use, is tied to our seasons here on Earth. Its starting point, its 0-degree mark, is always the first day of spring. That's it. But the sidereal zodiac, the one used in Vedic astrology, basically says, I don't care about your seasons. It aligns itself with the actual, observable, fixed constellations up there in the night sky.
And you know, both of these are incredibly ancient traditions. Western astrology may goes back about 2,000 years with roots in Greek and Babylonian culture. But Vedic astrology, which is also called Jyotish, it's even older. We're talking over 5,000 years old, coming from the ancient Vedas of India, and it's deeply rooted in astronomy.
Okay, so if they were aligned at one point, why did they drift so far apart? The answer is just so cool. It's this incredibly slow, massive astronomical event, the Earth's 26,000-year wobble. The absolute easiest way to picture this is to just think of our planet, Earth, as a giant spinning top. As it spins, it's not perfect, right? It has this very slow, very slight wobble at its axis. And believe it or not, that little wobble is the key to this whole thing.
Now, this wobble has a scientific name. It's called axial precession. And what it does over very long periods of time is it causes the timing of our seasons, like the spring equinox, to gradually drift backward against the fixed backdrop of the stars. So, the point in the sky that marks the first day of spring today is no longer in the same constellation it was 2,000 years ago. It's moved.
And when I say slow, I mean it's an epic cycle. It takes the Earth almost 26,000 years to complete just one of these wobbles. So the change is incredibly gradual, about 1 degree every 72 years. But over centuries and millennia, that adds up to a massive shift.
And you can actually see this drift happen over time. Back when Western astrology was really being developed, the spring equinox actually did happen when the sun was in the constellation Aries. And for a little while, around 285 CE, both zodiacs were perfectly aligned. But fast forward to today, and that starting point, because of the wobble, has drifted all the way back into the constellation of Pisces.
This brings us to our fourth point, the Ayanamsa. So how does Vedic astrology deal with this cosmic drift? Well, it doesn't ignore it. It actually uses a specific correction factor to make sure it stays perfectly aligned with the real stars. And get this is not a new discovery. Ancient Vedic texts, like the Surya Siddhanta, understood this thousands of years ago. They knew the sidereal zodiac was fixed to the stars and the tropical zodiac moved with the seasons. And they knew you had to account for this shift, this Ayanamsa, if you wanted to be accurate.
So what exactly is the Ayanamsa? You can think of it as the measurement of the ever-growing gap between the two systems. It's the precise number of degrees that separates the seasonal zodiac from the star-based one. It's the all-important correction factor that keeps Vedic charts locked to the actual constellations. As of right now, that gap, the Ayanamsa, is approximately 24 degrees. Now, a zodiac sign is 30 degrees wide, so a 24-degree difference. Wow, that is almost an entire sign, and that is precisely why your Western Scorpio sign is very likely a Vedic Libra.
Now, as you can see, there are actually a few different ways to calculate this correction, each with tiny variations.
But the most common one, the Lahiri Ayanamsa, is so widely accepted that it's been adopted as the official standard by the government of India. I mean, that just goes to show you how critical this astronomical adjustment is to the entire system.
So why does this 24-degree gap really matter? I mean, who cares, right? Well, it matters a lot, because this isn't just a technical detail. It creates two completely different astrological philosophies.
We're not just talking about swapping one sign for another here. This single astronomical gap creates two completely distinct maps of the cosmos. And that leads to very different interpretations of your life, your personality, and even your destiny.
This table really breaks it down perfectly. You've got Vedic astrology, which, because it's tied to the fixed stars, is much more focused on things like karma and a kind of fixed map of destiny. It really emphasizes your moon sign, which represents your mind and emotions, and it uses this unique predictive tool called the dasha system to map out major life periods. Then you have Western astrology. Tied to the changing seasons, it's way more psychological, focused on cycles of growth and personality. It puts your sun sign, your ego, your core identity front and center, and looks at transits, which is just where the planets are right now, to understand current trends.
And that really leaves us with this final big question. You see, neither system is necessarily right or wrong. They're just two different languages describing the cosmos. So the real question for you is, what resonates more? The symbolism tied to the season you were born in, or the literal position of the stars that were actually overhead at that moment? The answer to that, well, it might just change how you see yourself entirely.